Guys and dolls, so I'm going to do a react video, and I would like to have done it with guys and dolls, so I'm going to do a react video, and I would like to have done it with me on the screen, but that'll come in due course. So I'm just going to play the video of Keir Starmer today, if you've got a wee bit of time. It's going to be a wee while, so it's a big video, I understand that, but if you've got the time, it is pretty interesting. So, and it is quite funny as well, I think, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's not all doom and gloom. We're going to have a laugh, I think, you know what I mean? So, what I'll do, I'll just straight away start the video.
Good afternoon. Let me start by thanking President Macron for bringing us together today. Between the two of us, we've now convened 4 of these meetings in either London or Paris. And it's now, obviously, over 2 weeks since Ukraine agreed to an immediate 30-day ceasefire. That offer is still unanswered. It's over a week since Putin agreed to an energy and infrastructure ceasefire, but since then, Russia has hit energy infrastructure in cities across Ukraine. They've increased their bombardment, firing over 1,000 long-range drones at the country, hitting Ukrainian homes, schools and hospitals, with widespread civilian casualties. One drone killed a mother, a father and their daughter, an innocent family. Then this week we saw the agreement on a ceasefire in the Black Sea. I welcomed this as a vital first step forward, but within a few minutes of the announcement, Russia set out new conditions and delays. Now, President Trump has rightly called them out for dragging their feet.
Okay, so he's not telling us anything we don't already know. He's basically not saying anything at all right now that's got anything to do with us. Just basically he's telling us that, you know, him and Macron getting together and Putin's not stopping doing anything. He's really bad. You know, it's just the same rhetoric, you know, but what I want you to have a wee look at is have a look, because he's got a teleprompter here and a teleprompter there, and he's reading from each one, because it looks as if he's looking around the room while he's talking, but he's not. He's reading from one teleprompter and another teleprompter, and you know, this will be, like I say, as always, something that he hasn't wrote and something that he's just reading out. You know, so that's important. What's the body language? You know, what's the body language? Moving from side to side is always something that I always think when somebody does something that stands out, you know, then you pay attention to it. What's he saying when he's doing that? And then you find a pattern. You find a pattern. So you do. Now, it's one of them ones you don't have the receipts for. It's just me, what I see sometimes. But let's keep going.
And we agreed here in Paris today that it's clear the Russians are filibustering.
Filibustering. I had to go into the dictionary, find out what that word meant. I've never heard that word in my life. And it means act in an obstructive manner in a legislative assembly, especially by speaking in accordance length. This is a war with hundreds of thousands of men have lost their lives. And this is the kind of words that this man's using on such a serious topic. You know, it's just like the example that the dictionary gives is the Oxford Dictionary. This is the example that they give you. He was one of the 4 Tories who filibustered for more than 30 minutes each to derail the free parking plan. Now this is the language that this man's using when we're talking about something so serious. You can't make this stuff up, guys. You really can't.
They are playing games. And they're playing for time. It is a classic from the Putin playbook. But we can't let them drag this out while they continue prosecuting their illegal invasion. Instead, we should be setting a framework and a deadline of delivering real progress. And then we should hold them to that deadline. So here in Paris, we've agreed that we must go further now to support the peace process, support Ukraine and increase the pressure on Russia to get serious.
So here we go, serious talk, guys. Serious talk. He's flexing. I can see he's flexing. So here we go. You ready for this?
That means, first, stepping up the military pressure. So the Defence Secretary will chair the next Ukraine Defence Contact Group on the 11th of April to marshal more military aid and keep Ukraine in the fight. Because peace comes through strength. That was one of the main messages reasserted today and emphasised today all around the table and the meeting.
So strength, that's what they need. That's what they're all saying around the table. So, you know, many is around the table, and many's all going to throw guns and men and weapons and go and defend Ukraine. You know, it's getting interesting. You may as well go and make a cup of coffee, hit pause, go and make a cup of coffee, get a couple of biscuits, you know what I mean? Because this is going to be getting interesting, you know what I mean? Where, you know, obviously he's wanting to go to war, isn't he? So, yeah, he seems to know what he's doing. He seems to have, like, there's quite a lot of them there. They're all been around the table and they're talking about it. So, yeah, let's see what he has to say about it all.
Second, it means increasing the economic pressure on Russia, accelerating new, tougher sanctions, bearing down on Russia's energy revenues, and working together to make this pressure count.
Right, so that's nonsense, right? I would just, all that's just nonsense. They're not going to affect Russia any economic way. You know what I mean? Geez, oh, they've got over 1 million, nearly 2 million soldiers and all. Like, they're huge, they're massive. You know, they're doing all right. They've got something else going on over there with the Chinese and all the rest of it. You know, that's just what he's saying there is, you know, the most important thing was the first things he's saying about, like, all the what they're doing, and like we got to listen to that. We got to be ready for what he's going to do. Is there going to be conscription? Is there, you know, what's happening? You know, because it sounds pretty like he's getting the bull by the horns here, isn't he? Let's carry on.
We also discussed how we can support the implementation of a full or partial ceasefire when it is in place, and how we can build on efforts towards negotiations on a just and lasting peace.
So even though he's got absolutely zero to do with bringing peace to the country, all we've done, Britain, is warmonger and like created 2 years of another war when we could have signed. Boris Johnson told them not to sign the peace deal. Remember that? Now Britain's standing there and talking about making sure the peace deal works. I think the people here making the peace deal happen will make sure it works, you know. And I think if it's not going to work, I don't think you're going to have much say in the matter. But you seem to have big plans. He seems to have big plans, guys. So, you know, maybe he's going to prove us all wrong here. Maybe he has something up his sleeve.
Goal. And it's what the coalition of the willing is designed to support. The political will from partners here today was clear. And this week in London, we hosted over 200 military planners from 30 countries, coming forward with contributions on everything from logistics and command and control to deployments on land, on air and on sea.
There's the soundbite. On land, on air and on sea. Oh, you know what I mean? It's like, here we go, you know. He's full of nonsense, full of absolute nonsense. Like, he's just bull. It's all bull. It's just like, like the Russians right now, okay? They're getting ready to welcome back trade. They're actually going forward, welcoming businesses from the Western world back into Russia because there's that much money to be made. You know, billions and billions and billions people have lost out because of this war. And these money men want to start making money again. You understand? You know, the appetite for war's over. It's all finished, guys. Please believe me. This is Starmer trying to sound good. He's trying to sound like I'm part of it when he's got zero part of it. Tulip, she's in season. Just telling boy off. Sorry. And dinner's on as well. Big pot of chow mein and what are you doing?
Chow mein stir fry.
It's chow mein stir fry. So yeah, it's all happening in Freedom Dad's house right now. So let's keep going.
That work continues at pace. We will be ready to operationalise a peace deal whenever its precise shape turns out to be.
whatever that precise shape turns out to be, because he hasn't got a clue. He's not involved in it. He hasn't got a clue what's going on, and he's just winging it right now. He's just trying not to look stupid, you know.
And we will work together to ensure Ukraine's security so it can defend and deter against future attacks. This is Europe mobilising together behind the peace process.
You heard him. Europe's mobilising. They're mobilising together behind the peace process. Now that to me, guys, that's fighting talk right there. Fighting talk right there, guys.
On a scale that we haven't seen for decades. Backed by partners from around the world, we are determined to deliver a just and lasting peace. Because we know that it is vital for Ukraine and Europe as a whole. And I am clear.
I am clear. I want you to pay attention to this. I am. Me. I. When people say that, he's representing our country. He's representing the people of Great Britain. It's not just... Who does he think he is? It's not about him. It's not what he thinks or what he feels. You know, he's there representing us. He's just a figurehead, you know. This is the point. He's just getting carried away with it. You know, can you understand? He's like somebody is totally out of his depth, completely out of his depth, and been left to run riot. Basically, that's what's going on here. And the guy hasn't got a clue what he's doing. He's getting hands bit of paper, reading it out, and that's where we are here right now. He's sitting here reading this stuff out, and he doesn't believe any of it himself. This is the Labour Party trying to save face. But pay attention to the I's and me's.
And I am clear that it's also vital for Britain. Thank you. I will now take some questions.
Okay, this is the questions part. Okay, so let me tell you this. This is what I know. I've already seen it, I've watched it, and this is why I'm doing the reaction. He knows what questions are being asked. He's got the answers that he's going to answer to the questions that are going to be asked. Now, whether the reporters themselves, you know, have told him, or whether it's behind the scenes they've told somebody in the team, and the teams went back and said, this is the question, this is what we want you to say, and it's down. So after every question, you see him putting a line. That's him ruling out one question, that question, the BBC. You know, every time, you know. There's times when you see he just does a wee squirrel. You know, he's not writing anything down. He's ticking things off. You know, he's ticking things off because he knows what's coming. I'll butt back in a minute.
I've got a list here. I think we're starting with Adam from Sky. Adam.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Adam Parsons from Sky News. You talked there about political unity. Senior figures in the American administration have described European leaders, presumably including yourself, as pathetic freeloaders. How can you possibly rely on the Trump administration to craft a ceasefire that works for Europe and for Ukraine? And if they do create that, if there is a ceasefire, how will you enforce it and monitor it? And will you commit now to putting British troops on the ground in Ukraine to keep that country safe?
Well, let me begin answering that by describing the mood in the room today in the meeting, because we had 30 countries represented, obviously NATO and the EU as well, and there was a broad consensus that this group of nations is now stronger and broader than it's ever been. And so there was clearly a mood of that strength, a word that was used throughout the meeting.
So I picked something up with him as well. Whenever he's lying, he goes, the bigger the lie, the more the ums and the ahs you hear. Okay, now this is the leader of Great Britain, Prime Minister. I've never heard a leader go hum and ah so many times in my life. So watch out for that. The other thing is like, you know, he's telling porkies. He's telling porkies. You know, there's nothing there that he's saying that anything positive. It's all assumptions, and you know, it seems to be good. It's just nonsense. You know, it is. There's nothing that he's saying that's concrete that makes him sound any good. it's all around about ways and what we're thinking about doing, and maybe in the future, and this might happen. So, what about the military? You know, so obviously he's talking about sending military, and that's what we've been gathering from a minute so far. They're all around the table, and they're all getting involved, and they're all going to be throwing troops and everything in the Ukraine to protect Ukraine's border against the big bad Russians. Because if they don't, they're going to just keep on going through Ukraine and into the rest of Europe and take over Britain and take over the world. Oh my God, no! Send the Brits in.
In terms of the military operational planning, that sits alongside the political momentum. So today, in these meetings that Emmanuel Macron and I are hosting, that's the political momentum. Alongside that is the planning that's going on. It went on intensely in London this week, 3 extra days.
Hold on. So we're talking about the military here, and he's talking about the meeting him and Macron hosted. What are you talking about? Yeah, okay, we know you hosted the meeting, but there's about 30 around the table, there's not. And then he goes, but then we've been planning it in Britain. What? What, you in the cabinet? What, you in the front benchers have been planning what in Britain? You know what I mean? What's going on? What's he talking about? And have you any idea what he's talking about? What's happening? Are we going to war or not, Stormer? He's sending the troops in because this is weird. What about conscription? You know, we need to know, man. Let us know. It must be coming. We must be going to find out exactly what's going on, how many troops are going in, and all the rest of it. I'm sure it's coming.
Concluding today, and the Chiefs of Defence will now, as a result of today, the UK and the French and the German Chiefs of Defence will meet in Ukraine with their counterparts to take forward, as it were, with Ukraine, how those plans or options are going to be implemented. Obviously,
Whoa. So France, Germany and Britain. You said there was 30 around the table. Like, this isn't making any sense. I thought it was like these were all unity and everybody's in it together. Why is it only down to France, Britain and America now? Or Germany? No, America. No, oh, sorry, America. I'm sure he'll get on to America soon enough. But why is it just France, Britain and Germany? The 3 left-wing, far left-wing political parties in Europe. What does that tell you? Where are the rest of the countries of Europe, guys? What are they? What are they doing? Are they not getting involved? And why are they not getting involved? What's going on here? You know, I'm not understanding this. One minute you're saying they're all around the table and they're all happy and everybody's all on the same page. And now we're down to it's just Germany, France and Britain. Let's keep going.
we don't know yet whether there'll be a deal, what exactly the deal will be like, and therefore politically what we're requiring is options that are credible, that can be operationalised. But the Chiefs of Defence will now go and have that discussion.
He doesn't know anything. That's what he's trying to tell you. He hasn't got a clue. He doesn't know anything because nobody's telling him anything. And like, that's it. That is it. He has got no part of anything. And he's just making it up as he goes along. And my chief of defence will be going, we'll have meetings. Meetings about what? If you don't know what anything's happening, or what, if there's peace, or if there's going to be peace, and what reason and what use has he got apart from causing problems right now? Sticking his nose in where it doesn't belong. Annoying everybody, that's what he's doing. He's annoying the Americans, he's not annoying most people in most of the countries in Europe, and he's really pissing off the Russians, you know.
Not least because the military and operational coalition, if you like, is designed to build on the Ukrainian capability, not sort of an alternative to it. So that's where we're at. As I've always said, this will require the engagement and support of the United States. That's a discussion we've had with the US, with the President, on many occasions. But
yeah, and they've told you to wind your neck in and mind your own business.
I would describe the mood as a group of countries coming together, more resolute today and stronger and broader than they've been in the weeks that this has been developing as a group. Thank you very much.
What? what is he talking about? Like, I know I'm not the brightest spark in the room, right? I know that, right? Listen, never went to school, didn't see school, you know. Education, last 20 years, 25 years in prison. That's it, you know. And yeah, I could do a better job than that. Like, I could do a better job bullshitting. You know, I really could. Like, and that's just mumble jumble nonsense that doesn't make any sense to nobody. You know, if it doesn't make any sense to you, let me know. Maybe I'm missing something here. You know, this is nuts. This is our leader. You know, so there's one question out of the way that he already knew. What, because you could tell he knew. You could tell. You know what I mean? He like the reporter was like, blah 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 blah, and he was like, starmers away. He was on a mission. He was there for a good while. He knew exactly what to say. There was no like thinking about it. It was just bump 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 bump. So obviously he knew what the question was coming out, and he's going to know the next question. You know what I mean? There's no, and it's not like he's got a choice. He doesn't pick the questions. This is the questions they're asking, and they can't say no. But at least they're giving them a heads up to prepare how to answer it. Starmer couldn't work any other way. Starmer could not sit in front of a platform and just get questions thrown at him. That's why they only select certain news outlets. You know, there's only particular news outlets that there'll be. And anybody that's there asking questions, please believe me, they're all the establishment.
Harry, ITV.
Thank you very much. Harry Horton, ITV News. It's almost been a month since the first meeting of this coalition of the willing. And as you say, the fighting in Ukraine continues. It still seems as though the UK and France are the only countries publicly committing to put troops on the ground in Ukraine. And the US has still not committed to this security guarantee. What evidence have you got of any real progress that this coalition of the willing is making? And just if I may, you talked about setting a deadline. For what? And what happens if that deadline isn't met?
Well, let me take both parts of that. Firstly, on the progress, clearly there has been progress in terms of the numbers and the intent of the group and that sense of it being now a stronger and broader group brought together. And Emmanuel and I have now hosted
So you know, guys, the group that he keeps going on about, that's the EU, NATO, you know. You can see that they're not together. They're not a happy. There's no happy unison. He's standing there barefaced lying to people, telling people that, you know, and you're going to see this, you know. So the group he's talking about is like all these 30 people around the table that are all happy to be getting involved in sticking their nose in someone else's business, basically.
As I say, 4 meetings to bring this group together, and the mood today was very much a clear and resolute mood about the strength that comes from working together in this collective way. And of course, this is not a EU grouping. It's a broader grouping than that is now operating in this way. On the progress we've made, I mean, the planning, I went to see the planning myself on Thursday of last week. We had 200 planners in London in our own headquarters, split into groups that were dealing with the optionality when it comes to land, to sea and air, and now obviously the...
He loves it, doesn't he? The land, the sea, the air, you know what I mean? And he's been asked questions about, like, well, who else is in on this? You know what I mean? He's like, and then he just goes on about, yeah, we've had like 200 of us in London, all split into groups. You know, me, us. Why would we... Can you understand how everybody's looking at this right now? You know, he's making himself sound like, you know, he's taking something on board himself that he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to get involved at all. We don't even have the army, the capabilities or anything, and everybody knows that. You know, I don't know how to compare this. You know, it's like, I don't know. You can't put it in the words. How unbelievably. It's childish. It's almost childish, you know. It's almost like he's wanting to play with the big boys, you know. And the big boys the game's already started, and the bus is gone, and he's been left behind. You know what I mean? He's coming up with wee battle plans and all that. You know what I mean? What I would have done if it was me, and that's the kind of thing he's coming across as, you know. And it is really, really embarrassing. Really embarrassing.
Development that through the Chiefs of Defence going to Ukraine. Yes, it's optionality. Nobody knows whether there'll be a deal or what the shape of it will be. but there's clearly been political progress in the sense of momentum, if you like, in the political group that we've been able to put together, which is significant in its own right, because there was a feeling around the table that Europe, taking Europe as a whole, has not been this strong and united for a very long time, and that was clearly the mood in the room, but in the operational planning that goes with it.
Yeah, that's lies. That's lies. Because, you know, at the end of the day, the way a psychologist would look at this, you know, why would you say that? Why would you need to say that? You know? Who's doubting? Who's doubting you? Oh, this is the strongest we've ever been, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's why there's only you, France and Germany involved.
I'm so sorry, Harry, the second bit of your question.
You said there was a deadline.
Oh, sorry.
What is the deadline?
Yeah, so the point here is, as it were, a preliminary point to a deal, which is our collective view is that Russia is playing games, that Putin is back to his old playbook, and therefore the pressure needs to go on to Russia to get more seriously to the negotiating table and to have a framework or a deadline, if you like, for responding to what the Ukrainians have already put on the table and what the US is seeking to achieve in their initiative.
I mean, the Russians aren't playing. You know, they aren't playing. We know the Russians aren't playing. You know, I don't know what he's talking about. You know, the old playbook. They're at war. Hundreds of thousands of men have lost their lives. Nobody's playing any games here, you know. The truth is, you know, like I keep saying to you, he's just trying to sound good and big. And we're going to see as we go forward, you know. I don't know how he's going to hang on to this. I really don't know how he's going to keep this going and keep this up, you know. But as you know, it's all about America, you know, and that's the thing. But obviously he's not wanting to go with America. I don't think he likes America. I don't know. Have we heard him talk about America yet? Let's see what he's got to say about America.
So I think there's got to be a framework around that. Obviously, we'll discuss that with allies and with the US. But also, and this was a very strong resolve across the room, that now is not the time for pulling back or weakening on sanctions. On the contrary, now is the time for increasing sanctions on Russia to get them to the table to these negotiations to the hope of a ceasefire and a lasting and secure ceasefire that preserves the security and sovereignty of Ukraine. So,
sanctions. I can tell you now that Russia are ready. They're building their economy. People are coming back. You know, they're starting to make processes and way for Western companies to come back into the fore, because there's so much money to be made, you know what I mean? So he's saying one thing and another thing's actually happening. And I've got the receipts for that. If anybody wants any proof of that, let me know and I'll give you the link. Come in if it's military troop. But there's a lot of people who are really connected, really, really intelligent, know exactly what's going on. And, you know, what he's saying and what's actually happening are two completely different things.
That's as it were, the other element of the meeting today. So up until now, very much a focus on how do we defend a deal if we get there. Today, an equal emphasis, I would say, on how do we collectively, as a pretty large group of nations, ensure that we put pressure on the Russians to get to the table, to actually negotiate, and be really clear that they are filibustering, they are delaying, and we've seen this playbook before. Look, I mean, we in the mood for deadlines. I don't want to put a hard deadline on this, but we need to see this developing in days and weeks, not months and months, and we need to move on to that space. But I mean, so I'd say today that came up, as it were, alongside what we need to do if there is a deal, as part of the big discussion that we had over quite a session this morning. Jeremy from BBC.
There's another point as well. Sorry, I'm eating my dinner in between this. It's delicious. I'm sorry, guys. But that's the point as well. You know, like he says, they haven't got a clue what the deals are, what's going on. Talking about bringing them around the table. He's been around the table for ages. They will do a deal. There is a peace deal. So what if Putin in the peace deal promises not to go any further in the Ukraine and only stays where he is? Because he's not getting up any land. We know that. You know, they're not. The Stormers not even going to mention that. Please believe me. So, like I've been telling you, Russia's only been wanting a certain part. They've now got it. They're more or less there now, and that's it. And they'll keep on bombing until they've got exactly what they want. And they've got enough men up there to protect that border, and that's it. And I know in my heart that Putin will do a deal, saying that he's not going to bother, and like that'll be it'll be some sort of policy that he won't be able to break. You know what I mean? I know it's easier said than done, but these things do happen. You know, treaties can't be signed and they are taken seriously, and you know, so if Putin agrees not to go any further and not to try and not intimidate or do anything to Ukraine any longer, why is there any need at all for anything like this? You know? So we started with the backstop. Remember, it was all about the backstop. We haven't heard a whisper about the backstop, and that's because Trump's basically embarrassed them about the backstop, you know what I mean? So yeah. So the BBC, what did the BBC got to ask him?
Thank you, Prime Minister. You seem to be describing a very different world or different view of the war to the one that President Trump tells us about. I mean, this is all happening, isn't it? This talk of ceasefires because of President Trump's, first of all, his assertion during the campaign that he could sort it all out in a day. Then it was going to be 100 days. He was a great deal maker. That actually there is a reality here that neither side believed there could be a ceasefire, neither Ukraine nor Russia, that President Putin has made it clear on multiple occasions that actually his view of what should happen is not a ceasefire, but it is either victory through capitulation of Ukraine or victory on the battlefield. Isn't it time, in fact, to actually say this isn't going to work? We shouldn't be going for a ceasefire. We should be going for something else, maybe more military support for Ukraine that will enable them to make progress on that battle.
Check out the BBC. Yeah, they're wanting to send us to war. Bet he doesn't go to war. Bet him asking that question won't be going to war. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you exactly what's happening here. I'll tell you exactly what's going on here, guys. Because this is the government. The BBC is the government. Okay? So this question is always very important. Always be an observer. This is what I always say to you, be an observer. Times like this, they can't help themselves, you know. So we know the BBC is the Labour Party. You know, there's no two ways about it. They're 100% the BBC are the government. So the whole point of this question is so Starmer can say no. So he can say no. We don't want to just start going like this and doing that bad BBC, you know, because that's what the government them say, exactly what the government them is saying to us. Right? So now the government don't seem to be saying it anymore. Right? They're going about it and up and down it, but they're not going to the point and saying it. That's what they're doing here, guys. And now, so the BBC is coming in and going, do you not think we should do this and that and the other? And so Stormer can go, wait for this.
Make progress on that battle.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that President Trump absolutely clearly wants a lasting peace in Ukraine, and that's directing all of his actions. And in a matter of weeks, he has got both sides, as it were, to a negotiating table, and we've made some progress. Ukraine has clearly put forward 2 weeks ago now.
He's changing his tune, isn't he? Where did that come from? It's like what we just watched 10 minutes ago happened last week. You know what I mean? You know, 1 minute he's talking about getting them to the negotiation table, the next minute he's telling us that Trump's already got them to the negotiation table. You know what I mean? He's like, no, we don't need that. Trump's doing great. You know, Trump's a good man. He's over there and he's got them around the table and he's wanting peace. What? There's a lot of what's going on in this one, and you know, that's what I mean. Like, you could break this thing down. I could break this down even more, but it would just be too much for you. It would be every third word, man. You'd be like, fucking, and you'd be like, you know, it's bad. It is really bad. You know, it's just off the scale, pure nonsense, absolute nonsense, and you know, you're not going to be any the wiser after this. You really aren't. You're not going to have any clue what we're really doing, what our part is, who's involved, how many people are agreeing to it. Are we sending troops in? Is there going to be peace? Are Russians going to invade Europe? You know, you won't have a clue of any of them answers by the end of this, I promise you. But it is interesting to see these things and understand how much trouble we're really in, because these headers are here for another couple of years, like.
Its proposal in relation to a ceasefire. What we now need to do, in my view, is...
You know what I mean? In my view, it's not about your view, it's about our view, the country's view. This is the problem with this guy. It's all about me, I. You know what I mean? Watch out for these words. These are very important. That shows you how dangerous this guy is. In my view, who are you? You can't even sort your own country out. You can't even keep your own borders safe. You can't even keep your own children safe. Your view doesn't matter in anything worldwide right now, because you haven't got a clue domestically. So why is anybody going to listen to you worldwide? My view. What an idiot.
A ceasefire. What we now need to do, in my view, is increase the pressure on Russia to get to that proposal on a ceasefire, to meet it and to match it as a first step towards a lasting peace. And I think that's the right course, and that's why we are supporting the US in this endeavour, and that is amongst the things we discussed this morning.
He's lying again. That's not right. He's not supporting it because he thinks it's a good idea. They want to go to war. We know Starmer wants to go to war. He wants to send troops. He wants to send our young men. I don't know who he thinks is going to fight for his war, right? Because there's nobody there. I think he knows that now. They've been out and done the polls and went, we don't even have an army, you know. So at the end of the day, the reason why he's going along with this is because he's got no choice. It's as simple as that. The big boys are at the table. It's as simple as that, guys. But Trump and Putin are the big men. They're the real men here. And that's why he's going along with it. Not because he thinks it's a good idea. Sorry, that's just lies.
And at the same time, we have to answer the question, if there's a deal this time, why will it hold in the way that the deals in the past have not held? Because this wouldn't be the first time that a deal has been reached. But what we need to make sure is it's the last time that a deal is reached and not breached and is held to. So that's why we're focusing on.
That's why a deal is reached and not breached. What? It was us that broke the deal the last time. It was us that breached. It was us. Everybody knows that Boris Johnson said no to the peace deal because Biden's told him not to go forward, and Zelensky listened to him. And it was all to buy them more time. They conned the Russians. It was us. It's us he's talking about. No kidding you on.
Pushing forward and put pressure on Russia and answering the question, how would you defend a deal if a deal is in place? And I genuinely believe that is the right course. Everybody wants lasting peace. Everyone wants a negotiated settlement, not least the Ukrainians. They've been subjected to this illegal invasion for over 3 years now. They've been incredibly resilient.
They've been incredibly resilient. Unbelievable. The amount of men that are no longer here, you know, annihilated. All our tanks, all the weapons that we sent, Germany, all the weapons France sent, our land scattered all over the battlefield. Russian just picked them all off one by one. Was even blowing up trains as they were bringing the weapons in and the tanks into Ukraine. The Russians were whacking the trains. So they weren't even getting them onto the ground in Ukraine, and the Russians were taking them out. You know, it was on another level, you know, and it's just really sad that he uses this rhetoric to suit his own personal ego, the narcissist in him who wants to be part of something, you know, when really all he wants to do is be a warmonger, be a wartime prime minister, so he doesn't have to have another election. That's exactly what he's wanting. And the Americans aren't going to let it happen, nor will the Russians. Please believe me, this is what's going on. The rest of the world know exactly what Starmer and the Labour Party are up to, and they're not going to let it happen. He's not going to get his war, guys. Please believe me, he's not getting his war.
Zelensky has led from the front, in my view, over all of those 3 years, and he's now leading from the front again in relation to these ceasefire discussions. Thank you.
Follow up on that, Prime Minister. What makes you so certain then that there is a way of persuading President Putin to give up his long-held and very publicly discussed views on the future of Ukraine, which he believes should effectively be part of Russia?
Well, nobody could stand here, and I'm not going to say with great certainty, by date X, we will have got to this point. What I am saying is that this is a process. I believe the goal is the right goal, which is a lasting peace in Ukraine that secures the security and sovereignty of Ukraine. I am not alone in that view, because that is the President Trump's view. It's clearly the view of a group of countries now that we've put together, 30 countries, openly saying amongst themselves this morning that this is the strongest they've seen Europe in a very long time. And they mean Europe and not institutions within Europe. And it is, of course, the view of Ukraine. So I can't stand here with certainty and say, yes, I know exactly what the outcome will be on what day. What I do know is that that politically, if we can provide that leadership, backed up by operational plans, then that is the best chance, in my view, of achieving the outcome that we all want.
Guys, I'm sorry. I can't do this anymore. I cannot do this anymore. This is just a complete... I don't even know what to say about that last bit. I really don't know what to say of what he's going on about. Nothing makes any sense. It's just spaghetti. It's just a lot of spaghetti. It's a lot of sound bites, and we want peace, and we want this, and I think, and me personally, and we're all friends in Europe, and we all sat around the table, all 30s, and it's the strongest we'll ever been. But only Germany, France, and Britain are even getting involved with anything to do military. Goes on about ships in the sea and planes in the sky and boots on the ground, and it all sounds mental. And then when he's asked questions, he just doesn't know. I don't know when, I don't know how, but we're going to do something. That's what it comes across as. I'll stick the link. So I'll stick the link. There's another couple of questions. GB News threw one out there, you know what I mean? Honestly, guys, you've got to listen. You've got to listen to it. You've got to listen to this He's your Prime Minister. So you should be paying attention to these kind of videos. His video. I do expect you to go on and click the link and watch the rest of it. You'll see about halfway, we're about 40% through, So, yeah, I would tell you to go and have a good look at it and watch it if you've got a wee bit of time, and just analyse it and watch the humming, just watch the and ahs and and the moving from side to side. There's so much body language there, it's unbelievable. Unbelievable, you know what I mean? And people around the world, other leaders around the world in countries pay people to analyse these videos so they can know about the man, because please believe me, there's people out there that can decipher the truth from that. I can't, because it's all lies, but the truth is there, and it's the opposite to what he's saying. Everything's the opposite to what he's saying. All he's trying to do is save grace. He's spending billions right now. How much does it cost for all these meetings of all these hundreds of people, getting involved in all this to do with Ukraine? Nobody's asked them to get involved. Hundreds of billions we're sending to Ukraine. Why? There's no threat to Europe. There's no threat to Britain. So what's going on? Why is this happening? Why is this nonsense happening? The big cuddles and they're rubbing each other's backs. What's going on? They're wanting to start a war. They're trying to start a war so they can bring in digital ID and face recognition and all the rest of it. They really are, and get rid of our cash and continue impeaching on our privacies and our freedom of speech. And this is the point I'm going to make. Nobody takes him serious because he can't even get his own country right. So why would anybody let him get involved with anything else to do around the world? You understand that? And he'll never be able to come out and say that, but everybody around him knows exactly what's going on. All his backbenchers all know exactly. Everybody in America, they're all talking to each other, all behind the scenes in WhatsApp groups and everything, and they're all ridiculous. They are it's an absolute shambles and an embarrassment that they're running about there all hugging up to each other and then come back and doing battle plans in Downing Street. You know what I mean? It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. There's absolutely no need for it at all. One minute he says he knows what's going on, next minute he doesn't know what's going on. One minute he doesn't know if the piece is going to be there, or if the piece is going to start, and next minute the piece has started and it's going, well, you know what I mean? It's just contradiction. And this is just one interview. This is just one conference. It's I don't know what else to say, guys. I hope and thank you for watching all of this, and pretty big video, and it's the first time I've really done anything like that. And I don't really know how good it is, to be honest with you, but I hope you have enjoyed it. You know, thanks again. I'm Freedom Dad, and God bless every one of you.